I'm too stoned for this, y'all. What's up, witches? Welcome back to another video, another Halloween-themed video, I guess. Or rather, just a more witchcraft-themed video. Today, what I thought it would be fun to just sit and talk about, because I feel like it's a subject that applies whether you're actually Wiccan based or, just practicing paganism or witchcraft in general. One thing that is very important is the significance of symbols and symbolism in paganism and in witchcraft and in performing magic or magical workings. So one thing that I kind of wanted to sit down and discuss really briefly is the concept of the traditional Wiccan or witchcraft tools, altar tools, or magical tools that you'll often see talked about and referenced when researching those types of practices versus the general magical principles, correspondences, and associations that go along with those magical tools, and how that can also apply and compare it to a more heathen or Norse pagan or northern magical tradition. Actually, one thing that I found kind of interesting and synchronicitous was that I've been trying to get through reading a book called The Psychic Witch by Matt Warren, which has been really helpful for kind of breaking down the very basic principles of magic and magical thinking as it applies to, practicing witchcraft and just general meditation practices. And so there's a section that talks all about the elemental correspondences and elemental magic. And then I also have been paging through the book Teutonic Magic, which is this counterpart to the book Teutonic Religion that I already read and reviewed by Kveldolf Gunderson. There's also a section in that book that talks about Teutonic and Anglo-Saxon traditional magical tools, which I thought was interesting. And so what I wanted to do, in a nutshell, was basically just talk about the 4 traditional tools that you'll see used in Wicca or witchcraft traditions versus 4 corresponding tools that I found listed in the book on Teutonic magic, and then just kind of do a quick little deep dive into the elemental correspondences of those tools, and then in turn what those these symbolize, because each element of earth, water, air, and fire also just within general magical, alchemical ways of thinking also then have their own deeper levels of meaning and correspondences, which you'll also see talked about and referenced in tarot reading, interpreting tarot cards. So I thought it would serve as just a really good base starting point for anyone who's looking to get into Wicca, witchcraft, paganism, magic, and all of the above, just to give you kind of a general starting point. The important thing to remember at the end of the day is that you don't need any of these tools to be a witch or practice magic or paganism. All of these objects just create focuses for your mind and your willpower by helping you kind of develop and access this little quick reference guide to these deeper magical and symbolic meanings. It can just kind of train your mind to operate as a cheat sheet, if you will, to help you to hone your magical practice and hone your mind and your willpower in order to attain the goals that you're looking for when you sit down to practice magic. So the first tool that I'm going to talk about in traditional Wicca-based witchcraft is the pentacle, and then in the Teutonic tradition, or just more of a general pagan tradition, what I see it as corresponding with personally is the cauldron itself. And then in the Teutonic magic book, they also list the hammer, which you will often see used in more traditional formal heathen rites as a tool to sanctify or hallow ground, invoke different gods or spirits or what have you, and then just call different energies forth. The hammer is also seen in one of the stories about Thor, where it's placed in the lap of the bride at the wedding banquet in order to kind of bless her and grant her prosperity and fertility. So it corresponds with the element of earth. Earth, in turn, kind of just symbolizes, the earth itself, the physical plane, the material realm, and in turn, our own physical bodies, our sense of touch, all of those mundane senses and just earthly things. What I have here is just a little pentacle that I attempted to make just to show you an example of the pentacle itself, which is the 5-pointed star enclosed in the circle, and that in turn, symbolizes all of the elements enclosed by the power of the human spirit or the divine will, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, you'll see this used as a traditional altar tool in Wicca, just to symbolize the element of earth and all of the deeper meanings and spirits that are associated with that. You'll see it associated with gnomes, land spirits, land vatir, just different spirits of plant, rocks, minerals, gems. And then what I would tie it to in the more northern tradition would be the dwarves or the dvergar, because they are the ones, or I guess svartals, I think is what Snorri also refers to them as in the Edda, because they're the ones that dwell underground within the earth. They mine the minerals and precious metals and craft things from them. So that's what I would tie in terms of specific northern traditions as the entities that embody the element of earth. In terms of non-Wiccan associations or magical tools, I would go with either a cauldron, because the element of earth also just symbolizes the Earth Mother, Caradwyn's cauldron in the Celtic tradition, the cauldron of death and rebirth, to which we all return and are born from, because it can symbolize a woman's womb. And then, like I said, with Caradwyn's cauldron, it's the cauldron of reincarnation that everyone is reborn through, and it symbolizes the fact that we are all born from the earth, and the earth nourishes and sustains us all, and then when all is said and done at the end of the day, to the earth we will all return ourselves and sustain her in return. Those are just the general associations that are tied to the pentacle, and then I would say the hammer and cauldron as, just physical representations of those symbols and those powers. The next magical tool that you will see used in Wiccan or traditional witchcraft is the cup or the chalice, which is tied to the element of water, because it holds the liquid of water. And so what I would really say is that, unlike just the symbolism of, say, this, which you might say is tied to earth because I painted it on a wood disc, which is kind of an earthy element. You could go for rock or stone or something like that. And then, I just have a goblet wine glass here to be fancy, but in reality what it's symbolizing is the water held within the chalice itself. And then in the book on Teutonic magic and more heathen or northern traditions, instead of the chalice you can substitute the drinking horn, which is very prominent and important in many of the sagas, Eddas, and just, traditions of hospitality overall. Cup, chalice, horn are tied to the element of water, and you will also, in the suits of tarot decks, they're broken down along the same lines, the same symbols and elemental correspondences. So you'll see the suit of cups tied to the element of water, and it symbolizes the realm of the subconscious, the emotions, your deeper thoughts, feelings, expressing those emotions, being adaptable like water is. Water takes the shape of whatever vessel you pour it into. Much like our own emotions, water takes many forms and has many aspects. It can flow gently, it can be a still, calm pool, or it can be a raging torrent of a waterfall or a great, powerful, crashing wave. And so I think that's why you'll see water tied to the realm of feelings and emotions. Water nourishes us all. Without water, there would be no life on Earth. In turn, what you'll see it being tied to are not just emotions, but specifically, with the tarot suit of cups, it will be tied to love, relationships, all of those things that correspond with feelings and emotions. In the more northern tradition, it can be, the cup of life, say things like, your cup runneth over, or being able to look at things glass half empty or half full, in terms of just, emotional perspective. And in the Norse tradition, you'll often see at the feasts, or when guests come, they will be welcomed by the lady of the household with the cup of mead or ale as traditional welcome. And you'll also see magic spells being carved onto the drinking horns to affect the drinker of the liquids therein. So it can correspond with those types of things, as far as specifically a more Teutonic or northern tradition. In more of a just general sense, general perspective, it would correspond with, the direction of the west, and sirens, mermaids, those magical creatures of the sea. In the Celtic tradition, you'll see like selkies, which I think are the beings that can transform by wearing seal skins. They can take the shape of a seal. In the specifically northern tradition, I associate water with the Vanir, because you'll see Njord is associated with water, ships, and navigation, and then Freya is the lady of love and relationships and those types of things, so I associate water with the Vanir personally. The third traditional ritual tool that you will see on the altar in a more Wiccan-based witchcraft practice is the Athame, or sword, blade, knife, ritual knife. And in the Teutonic magical practice, they list the sax or sayax, which you'll see is kind of like, the best description that I can compare it to would be like a mini buster sword, if you know your weapons from Final Fantasy VII. It can be, I think anywhere up from like machete size to just a smaller ritual knife size, but it'll just have that shape of the blade, where it's a blade with a kind of angled off blunt tip. And I don't have one of those, but as far as, more ritual Athame type piece, this is a the sword of Godric Gryffindor in letter opener form. You'll see, that's kind of my little version of a mini Athame if you want to get real traditional with it. It can be as fancy or as simple as fits your own personal aesthetic. I do have this beautiful antler knife, flint napped, either, dark smoky glass or smoky quartz. I'm not sure what exactly the blade is made out of, but this was a handmade flint napped antler knife that I bought to be my ritual knife. Its elemental correspondence is the element of air, and air is tied to the concepts of movement. You know, the wind moves and moves things. Vibration, all sound is just vibrations moving through the air, and so it's tied with the power of voice, speech, communication. And then in like the tarot suit of swords, it's also, air is tied to intellect, thought, mind, logical ways of thinking versus emotion. So it's therefore symbolizes awareness, wisdom, knowledge. In the traditional sense, the blade or sword is able to, much like, you know, a wand or a staff or any of these ritual objects, just act as a focus for more precisely invoking and directing magical energy. What I personally see it as is like the blade represents the sword of truth, the sword of judgment. It's able to cut through all the bullshit and cut through the veil to see clearly and unobscuredly, see objectively. So yes, you'll see, I think specifically in the Teutonic magic book, they say that the sax or sayax is used for carving the runes, is carving rune staves. And one thing that they specifically did mention there, which I thought was interesting, is that it says that if your blade is made of cold iron, don't use it to cut plants that you want to use for magical workings, because, and you'll also see this in like fairy tradition, as they like can't abide the touch of cold iron. And what seems to be the concept or basis behind this is that something about the iron or the metal itself kind of acts as a grounding rod, and it negates all magical energy, grounds everything out and negates it. So if you're cutting a plant and you want to use that plant and its magical properties for a spell later, they say specifically don't use your metal ritual knife for that, because it would negate all of the properties of the plant. So I thought that was interesting and might speak to some type of deeper tie between why magical beings or magical things can't interact with cold iron specifically. The element of air is tied to the direction of the east in usual magical traditions, and you'll see it tied to airy beings that are traditionally called sylph, wind sprite, air elementals. What I would associate it with in Norse pagan tradition would be the Aesir, or the Ljósálfar, the light elves. You know, Odin is the god of wisdom, intellect, and communication and speech, and the chanted magic of Galdur. So I would tie him to the associations of the element of air for those reasons. If the much debated Prose Edda is anything to be believed in any sense, Snorri does say in that book that supposedly, you know, Odin and the Aesir, he says that they are called Aesir because they came from the east, from Asia. Again, you know, all of these tools are there for you to use or not use as you see fit. One of the reasons why I kind of steered away from Wicca in the end was that while I really like having different tools, like, you know, I want them to have a practical purpose at the end of the day. So I don't really feel the need to have a chalice. You know, I'll have a drinking horn to give liquid offerings to the gods, but I don't need, you know, a cup to symbolize water, to symbolize emotions and subconscious and dreams, and I don't need a dagger to symbolize air. And like, these are all just tools to help your mind make those connections. But yeah, those are the deeper meanings as far as the Athame blade and the elements of air and their deeper symbolic meanings as a whole. The fourth ritual tool that you will see used in witchcraft is the wand or staff, and in the northern tradition this is called the Gondr, like Gandalf, which means wand elf. And so what is any good wizard without his staff? In this case specifically, you will see the wand. The wand, staff, gondor, is tied to the element of fire. What I would say is that if you don't want to use a wand or a staff, what you could do is just have a candle and just have an actual flame there to symbolize the element of fire. Because fire, you will see, is tied to the deeper symbolic meanings of passion, creativity, the spark of life, the creative spark, the art of transformation because of fire's transformative power, and it symbolizes our own willpower, our own inner fires, our inner passions, dynamic power, sexual power. Then, you know, I would say inspiration, vision, creativity, those intense things. Because much like the Athame or sword or blade, it is a tool that's able to kind of direct those bigger, grander energies and siphon them down into a more easily digestible, easily handleable, is that a word? Easily wieldable format for us as little humans. Because one thing that you will often see in pagan in Wiccan magical practices is they will, you know, go to the 4 directions and summon the 4 guardian spirits of those elements and invoke them when casting the magic circle or beginning the rites. All of these grand cosmic forces, elemental energies, are just too intense for our little human minds to handle and comprehend, or they might not be able to wield them safely without things slipping out of your control. Or yeah, like I said, if you just need to kind of concentrate on a smaller piece of the puzzle when you're starting out and build up from there, and, you know, kind of look at the grander mosaic, magical mosaic from there, these are just easy little pieces for you to focus on as a beginner when dealing with these elements, with these greater magical concepts, rather than trying to just, you know, dive into it, all of it, head first. What you'll see is they'll summon the guardians of the directions to act as intermediaries and help direct the flow of all these elemental energies so that we can handle them safely. But again, like I said, this is all just greater symbolism for your own mind to process things and harness those deeper subconscious symbolic meanings in order to train your brain for those more magical ways of thinking, like I was talking about in my Things That Make Me Feel Witchy video. These concepts and the tools that they are tied to just provide a physical manifestation of these mental concepts so that you can use it as kind of, yeah, like a mental cheat sheet for your brain to sit down and be like, okay, yeah, I got my water, I got earth, fire, I know what deeper concepts those relate to. I want to do a meditation with the Vanir on my relationship or an emotional matter that I'm dealing with. So I'm going to focus on the element of water, scry into a bowl of water, use tools or colors that I associate with water in order to help my mind more easily slip into that concept, harness that concept and that way of thinking, and give me something to focus on to help me manifest the outcome that I'm looking for during that spell work session, during that ritual, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. All of these tools and their magical correspondences are just focuses for your mind. At the end of the day, you don't need any of them. You can just create a Sherlockian mind palace where you can have a totally made up altar just of magical things in your mind, and you can sit down and just purely in your imagination and say, okay, now I'm going to my altar, I'm picking up these tools, I'm lighting the candle to Odin. You can do it all in your mind. You don't actually need any of the physical objects. That's why you'll see in many pagans, especially when in animism or nature-based practices, they don't need any of this stuff. So you just go out into the woods and go at it, you know? If you have, like me, struggled with meditating or being able to sit down and train your brain to focus on specific things, or you need a reminder of these just different magical concepts and the elemental symbolism behind them that you will often see made reference to in most witchcraft or spell working traditions, I just wanted to kind of give you a brief primer on what you will see usually listed as basic magical tools, give you some more Northern pagan, Teutonic pagan correspondences that I had come across should you choose to use these tools in your own practice. And then also just give you a quick little breakdown of the elemental correspondences with those tools and the deeper meaning behind them, so that you know why they're there, what deeper purpose they are supposed to be serving, and therefore if you want to go out and instead of using these, just actually use some dirt, a candle flame, and some water, and whatever you want to use, just go out in the wind to symbolize air and connect with the different elements directly that way. Go for it. That's probably even better. These are all just very symbolic, very formalized, concrete tools to represent much larger cosmic magical concepts at the end of the day. Basically what I wanted to sit down and explain to you and just kind of give you a little primer from what I have learned in my many years of studying Wicca before finally settling on a more customizable, adaptable way of practicing witchcraft that worked better for me as an individual. As always, use or don't use whatever I've said here as you see fit, and until the next video, stay classy, pagans.